Hello, my name is Samantha. I am a energy worker. Something I have struggled for quite a while now, and especially since I began my spiritual awakening, is defining who I am. I've been trying to search a definition or to put myself inside a box to help me realize who I am, to help me identify and again define what it means to be me. And that might seem or sound a little bit against what an spiritual awakening is, because the whole point of spirituality and connecting with our essence and spirit is realize that there is no definition. We don't really need a definition to be who we are. And trying to take myself from a box to a new box seems to counter the whole point of energy work or an spiritual insight. But for some reason, my mind needs definition. It needs to know who I am so that I can act, behave, produce, create according to that definition. My struggle with this is that if you explore the different spiritual teachings, they have a common denominator. They all talk about essence and consciousness and each of us being that, and they give you kind of a path or a map that will guide you back to that essence. But at the same time, the process to find it is a bit different. As I learn more and more about the spirituality and the spiritual tools, about the different spiritual paths available to us, I started to get confused about which one was the right path. I am certified as a Reiki Master, as an Akashic Records Master Reader. I initiated my studies into shamanic practices. I took trainings on removing energetic implants. I did a life coaching training as well. I taught myself to read tarot cards. I studied about spirit guides. I took some trainings on crystal healing and crystal energy. I've read books about astrology. I've done so much research and I absorbed so much information about the different modalities and the different paths in the energy world that all of that has confused me a little bit. Because on one hand, studying all of those things, you also learn about soul contracts, about past lives, about galactic consoles, about energetic implants, about other beings controlling the planet, about the baggage that gets passed on to you through your lineage, about generational curses. All of that is contained on one side of the spiritual world. On the other side of the spiritual world is this philosophy that tells you don't have to believe any of that and you don't have to necessarily do all of that because you are already a conscious being. You are already consciousness. You are whole, complete, and expansive. You are already enlightened. All you need to do to feel that way is step into that consciousness, fully commit to being that consciousness, believe that you are that, and from that side of the spiritual reality, you can manifest or live the life you want to live. On that side of the energy world, there is nothing you need to do for life to work for you. Here are the quantum leaps and the beingness and the becoming and the manipulation of reality to your will as soon as you step into the creator consciousness. As I analyze both currents of thoughts and both philosophies, standing in the middle, sometimes I get confused because there is a third part, I guess, that talks about nervous system regulation, about the trauma from childhood, about all these belief systems that get installed in us through the way we were raised. It talks about past trauma and how that past trauma affects the way we are today. It talks about neurodivergency and all of those things that are seen more from a either psychological point of view or a neuroscience point of view, and also the biology of our body. Somatic exercises, somatic breathing, all of that has to do with the physical reality we live in and the physical being we are. Then there are not only two currents, but there are three currents that we need to take into consideration. Or maybe not, but I have taken all of that into consideration. I've informed myself on those different focus points that the world offers us. And standing in the middle of all of those things, sometimes I get confused about where do I fit in all those different spheres, which one to believe, which one is truer, I guess, more accurate, more efficient. And I also wonder how all of those spheres play a role in my human life, in my physical life, but also in my spiritual development. And if I take the circle on my right that says that you are already everything, then that you are already consciousness, then there is no spiritual development. I'm just trying to reach something that is already there. It's created, it's happened. I've come to the conclusion that what we call spiritual development is actually mind development. The spiritual awakening should be called mental awakening. What we are trying to enlighten is not our soul, it's our brain, our mind, our personality. Because the soul is already enlightened, is already part of consciousness. Not that the brain or the mind are not, but they are in a different level, let's say. They are kind of plugged in at a different frequency from the consciousness frequency. At least that's what happens in this world. But anyway, all of these definitions, they bring confusion and they bring a little bit of chaos because I don't exactly know what path to follow. I've tried to stop reading material on all of these things because I already received lots of information through my own central channel and through my own channelings. So adding material or books to what I already know just creates more confusion. So I'm trying to skip the reading part of life and just allow the wisdom to flow through me without external prompts. And by doing that, I've come to solidify what I believe in. I believe that we are this conscious sentient being that is already enlightened and expansive and contains everything. I believe we need to, rather to step into it, we need to expand or grow into that being. The way I see it is we are here, right? All of this is my body and all of this is my being. But my mind or my personality is just here in this little spot here. So through all of this awakening and expansion of the mind and cleanup of energy, this little round thing here grows to fully exist in the entirety of my body or the entirety of who I am. But not because I just exist in here doesn't mean that I am not the legs and the arms and the fingers and the head. I am that too. It's just that from the point of view of my mind or my human consciousness, I only exist here. What the spiritual path does is to allow that round thing in here to grow, to no longer contain itself into the center of the being, but to fill up the space available to it. Seeing from that perspective, I don't have to become anything because I already am. I don't have to believe anything. I just need to accept what I already believe. And I have to allow the expansion to take place. What sometimes happens, and where all this karma and karmic ties and lineage and trauma and past lives and implants comes in, is that the center where we are is surrounded by all of those things that are beliefs, if you want to see it that way. But when a belief is validated, when a belief is truly accepted as a true, it becomes matter, it becomes solid. And so if you want to say that you have an energetic implant and you fully believe it, then you have one. Not because energetic implants exist, but because you believe they do. And because you believe they are within you, they are in you. And so by believing something fully, you put it there, you place it there. You can place good things or positive things and negative things as well. So we've put in our beingness, we've validated those implants of those generational curses, of those karmic debts. We've created them and we have validated them and we have grounded them and their energy in our physical reality, which includes our world and includes our body, because we have believed them. And because we believe them, we also experience it. Because you might say, well, I know they are true because I look at my family and I see this generational trauma or this generational thing happening in each generation. So of course it must be true, this generational trauma. But what makes it true is the validation of it by seeing it, acknowledging it, and believing in it. You experience it because you believe it. And what happens as well is some of the beliefs that we've been carrying through generations and in the planet, we weren't aware that we created them. Most of our creation in this world has been unconscious. We've done it without knowing we've done it. So past lives, I don't think those exist. I don't think it's about validation or anything. We, as a multidimensional being, which I truly believe we are, we can create all of those worlds and all of those past lives. And I know that past lives are not only on planet Earth. You have past lives in other dimensions and universe and planets. So past lives is not something exclusive to the human experience. It doesn't happen only to the people living on Earth. It happens to all of the beings in existence everywhere. And I think some of those past lives or those things we consider past lives are really not in the past. They are just happening in here and in there and over here. The tree of life can describe that really well. I think that's what happens when we talk about past lives. It's like seeing it from the tree of life perspective. None of them are really in the past. They are just connected and located in different points in time and space or the fabric of the universe. So from my perspective, that's valid. All of the things I mentioned before, past lives, karmic contracts, generational curses, they exist because we make them exist, because we believe it. The past trauma that we experience in this life is there. But as we know, also seeing through psychology or neurology, we don't have to hold on to it. We can decide to let it go. And that's why therapy exists. There are so many different talks of therapy because it is also true that our body stores trauma. And then we have this other sphere that talks about how all of this that I just mentioned doesn't exist and it's rubbish because you're already an expansive conscious being that doesn't need any of that to exist, and that actually can get rid of it just with a flicker because you created it. And I think that's from where we should start seeing life. I think we need to start here, acknowledging and knowing we already are this being and this consciousness. And everything that happens either beyond that or outside of it or besides it is just a story. It's just a drama that we decide to create. And sometimes it's okay. Most of us, and if you are watching this, maybe you're one of us, like to read fantasy books. We are in love with movies because we like stories. It's nice to imagine things. It's nice to have a problem that in the end it will be solved. We all like happy endings, and most movies and books end up with a happily ever after. Most of them, not all of them. Even if in the middle there is some conflict, it always gets resolved. And it's exciting to read the book. So in a way, it is also exciting to live the life with all of this trauma and drama and stories within stories and experiences because we like to create them, we enjoy them. So yeah, what I'm trying to say, not very eloquently, is that all of the things that spiritual life, spiritual work talks about are valid. But I think for it to be more accurate, more effective, the development and the entire process, we need to start from here. Always take the consciousness, beingness path as the overarching strategy, as the overarching path, as the groundwork for all of the other things that we need to do. Because when you do that, even if a past life comes into your present life, it will be easier to flick it away because you will see that that's just a mirror. That's just a made up reality that you no longer need. And so when you realize like, oh, I'm, facing this karma, or I reached the checkpoint in my path where this soul contract comes up, you can decide to, use your magic wand and dissolve it and say, I no longer need that. And same with all the other things. When you keep walking the ground of I am consciousness, and then you come against energetic implants, you will be like, oh, this is interesting. I didn't remember. I had already forgotten I put this here, so let me just dissolve it. And then you do, and then you keep walking. Yeah, one doesn't have to negate the other. I think they are all intertwined, and they are all true. When I was asking about this to my higher self, asking how can I ground this energy, I was feeling a shift in me, but I couldn't contain it. Like I couldn't anchor it. The energy will come or it will activate, but then it will fade away. Then it will activate again, or I will activate it and it will fade again if I didn't keep my concentration on that energy. And I was feeling fed up of that because I felt I was not making progress. So I asked, what can I do to ground that energy, to make sure it doesn't dim anymore, it doesn't fade away? And the image that I was shown is you need to expand and then contract. You need to expand and then contract. And what that meant was you need to expand and see life and things and experience yourself as wholeness, as completion, as consciousness. But then when you have spent some time in there, you need to contract into your physical reality again. You need to contract and come into your mind with the knowledge you acquired from these more expanded versions of you. Because the contraction will bring the expansion into your being. It will solidify what you already are into this version of you, into this more contained version of you. It will activate your consciousness in the body. And then when you feel that you need again to liberate things from the body or the mind, you need to expand again, go and acquire the knowledge you need to remove what is in the contraction. And when you acquire that knowledge, when you remember who you are, when you see life from a bigger perspective, you contract again to bring into this contraction the information and the energy required to dissolve the contraction so that you can expand. And gradually, by doing this contraction and expansion, in the end, what will happen, the contraction will not be any longer as contracted as it used to be. It will no longer be as tight. And the contraction or the walls that keep you caged will start to dissolve. And then you will become one with all of it. You will see that you will still have a core, you have a middle ground, but it will be easy for you to expand and stay and become that expansion and stay in that expansion. And so the contraction won't be as big of a contraction as it was before. You will start to dilute those walls and swim in the energy. As you dissolve those walls, as you dissolve those cords or the spring that brings you back into the contraction, when there are no more springs to tie you back, then you will be everything. You will you will dissolve into everything. You will exist in every point as every being. And it will be easier to decide the focus point for your life and for yourself. Because there will not be more contractions. There won't be any more restrictions. You will still be a human being, but you will exist as a human being, as a consciousness inside a human body or inside a human being. You will be human being and you will be consciousness at the same time. You don't need to contract that much. You don't need to cage yourself anymore. And I think that that's what I've been trying to do. I've been so preoccupied with maintaining my physical reality, by maintaining my identity, that I've been worried about dissolving, and that's why I haven't dissolved. Not realizing that what I want is to dissolve. I want to go back to being. Yeah, I want to go back to beingness, to consciousness. But I've been afraid that by doing that, I will contract, when actually what will happen is that I will expand. So if you're worried about the same thing I was or I was, about dissolving your personality, about dissolving your being, by letting go of the drama, by letting go of the contractions, by letting go of the stories, you need to know that won't be the case. When you are consciousness, you can still keep the past life where you were Cleopatra. You can still be part of the angelic realm, and actually, if you dissolve the contractions and the walls around your personality, it will be easier for you to be Cleopatra, and it will be easy to tap into your consciousness as an angelic being or from the angelic realm. And I'm just mentioning 2 points, but it will be easier for you to remember you were this other being somewhere here and that you were in this dimensional planet. It will be easier. You will be able to jump from point to point and bring information back into your current reality. By dissolving who you are in this world, you won't be dissolving all of your past lives or all of your knowledge or your identity. You will be expanding it. If you like being Cleopatra or knowing that you were Cleopatra, you can continue being the being that was Cleopatra. You don't have to let go of that, but you can bring into your now the consciousness of that Cleopatra had, the skills, the wittiness, the smartness, the intelligence that being had. You can bring it into your current reality. You don't need to let go of that. But to do that, you don't have to contain yourself in a cage that says or defines who you are. It's not the cage who defines it. It is you who defines who you are. And you can define yourself as the being that was Cleopatra and also Ramses and also Moses and the galactic being somewhere else and the king and queen of whatever. You can decide to be all of those things and it will be true because you are everything. So it's easier to be whatever you want when you are everything there is to be. You attain knowledge faster when you let yourself just be. And the contraction or the definition can always happen. One day you don't want to be everything and be swimming in the sea of knowledge and swim of nothingness and everything else at the same time. Maybe one day you want to be who you are today. You want to define yourself as the name your parents gave you or the name you have given yourself. Just as I said at the beginning, I said I am an energy worker. Is that what I am all the time? Of course not. But for the purpose of this video, that's what I am. I also said I am an energy junkie. Is that what I am? Not all the time, but most of the time. That's where I am, always wanting to feel more, always wanting to just experience more of the being that I am. But I could have just said, I just am. And depending when and how you interact with me, I can be a woman or I can be a girl. I can be a sister and a daughter and a cousin and an auntie. I can be a granddaughter. I can be a card reader. I can be a life coach. I can be a spiritual coach. I can be an Akashic Records reader. I can be a Reiki Master. Because those are all of the hats and the tags that I have acquired for myself. But am I one or the other? No, I am all of them. I have all of them. Sometimes I decide that I want to be one over the other, or depending on the time and path of life I am experiencing, I may choose to decide to be this character instead of this one. If I am in a family dinner, I don't want to be an energy worker. I want to be a daughter. I want to be a cousin. I want to be an aunt. I don't want to be an energy junkie then because I want to experience my family dinner in full. I don't want to be necessarily a consciousness because then I will have, I will be seeing all of these things and I will be acquiring all of this information. And in that moment when I am with my family, I just want to be with them. I want to experience them through their personalities, through my physicality, through my mind. It's also nice to see it as a consciousness because then you see, all of the different flavors that life has to offer through your family members. And you can be compassionate and maybe you avoid certain fights or you don't take it personal, you have discernment. But if I am already a consciousness and I choose to act from there, I can be a conscious aunt, I can be a conscious daughter, I can be a conscious sister, and still experience life through those lenses while maintaining my consciousness. And so it is a choice, really. What you want to believe and what you want to create is true. It is a choice. And if you were getting kind of confused with all of the different things and the different modalities out there as I was, they don't have to be in conflict. You need to know that one does not necessarily cancel the other out. I think they go hand in hand. There will also be a time where you no longer need to pay attention that much to your past lives or to your karmic contracts, because as you walk the path of consciousness, you realize that path is harder and maybe you are done with clearing all of that energy, and then you give thanks to that and you tell them thank you very much, and then it goes off and you continue through a clearer path. But then maybe there was like one just up ahead, one karmic contract, one conscious something, one, I don't know, a story in front of you that is still a bit linked to this side. And when you reach there, you're like, oh, I missed this one. I miss that one. You clean it and then you continue. But the cleanup of that it won't take that long. It can take a day, an hour, a week, a month if it's a heavy one. If there is something that you still need to learn about yourself through that experience, through that contract or implant or past life. But yeah, as you get along, as you walk the path, as you expand into what you already are, you won't need all of those things as much. So yes, that's all I wanted to share.